Hey, how you doing? Today we are traveling to Eeloo and building the rocket for it as well. I'm going there with the use of the mod transfer window planner, which calculates the best moment of departure. But since I'm still making a maneuver node manually, we will make quite significant mistake in calculations, and we'll have to take some spare fuel to be able to fix it, to fix the trajectory and the landing point as well. On the way back, I'm using the mod MacJab. I and many, maybe most people consider it to be a cheating because it is just an autopilot or maneuver node creator or whatever. But I just want to show you different ways of traveling, and so why not? Even since I'm using the MacChap mod, our departure time from Eeloo is already not perfect. That's why we have to take some spare fuel for the way back as well. And let's take a look at the map. We are building our rocket backwards again, so we have to invest for traveling back 7,500 meters per second minus 35 because 34 because we don't have to use this thanks to the atmosphere of the Kerbal, so we just use aero brake and land with the use of parachute. So it is 4,000 meters per second, but we will take more. But keep in mind it is more than 4 at least. 5 and 6 will be enough. I'm also taking some spare fuel for making some scientific experiments on different altitudes and so on, so you can use this however you want. You can install additional scientific stuff or maybe some communication things, antennas, and so on and so on. What is the main principle of building a rocket with high amount of delta V? You should make it as small as possible and as light as possible. But when you are installing light engines, you as well have a really low thrust to weight ratio, and it leads to the situation when you make your burns really long, like 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes. These burns are not efficient, or you can make them efficient, but you will have to do it in steps. So a little burn, then around on the orbit, little burn, round, burn, round. I don't want to use it because yes, it's even more efficient, but it's not for fun, for rookies. I just want to make it really easy. So we install the lowest engine of this diameter on top of the command pod. It is Spark, and we add the T100 fuel tank. We can't take more because of the thrust weight ratio around the Kerbal. Here we use it around the Kerbal, Also, here we add a service bay with some radioisotope electrogenerators. Why do I take them? Because Eeloo is that far from Kerbal that our solar panels would be just inefficient and to make them actually efficient and a battery, of course, we will have to install really big ones, and they are really heavy. I don't like it. Now we have 900 meters per second delta V. On the bottom we install another stage. Here we have T800 and T400 fuel tanks with T1 Dart liquid fuel engine. I could have used this, but it is so weak, only 60 kilonewtons of thrust. I prefer this. You know, we can take out one fuel tank and install this. I just don't want to make that big amount of stages. And the efficiency of this engine, it is perfect in the atmosphere, sure, but in space it is really nice as well, 340. Compared to this, oh, you don't see it, right? Here 340 and 345 here, interior. So it is just what we need. With use of it, we have 3,000 meters per second more, 4,000 in total. And then we installed some radial boosters, 2 of them actually, on the sides. Let me move it a little bit lower. It's okay. Fuel from these stages is used for both taking off the surface of Eeloo and landing at the latest phase of landing, because we have to decouple all the stuff down to actually allow the landing legs touch the surface, reach the surface. So some fuel from here is used for landing as well. So when I was building it, I was thinking, so let's take maybe 5,000. Well, we need 4. Let's take 5. It's okay. And I built it. Oh, suddenly we have 5.9. But it's okay. Some of that will be used during the landing, and I guess it's all right. You can make some more precise calculations, but let it be. I don't care. I want to get some fun and to make it easy. So we have the fuel for traveling from the Kerbal low orbit to the surface of backwards, from Eeloo, from the surface of Eeloo to the Kerbal low orbit. To get from the Kerbal low orbit to the Eeloo's surface, we need the same amount of fuel, more than 5,000 meters per second, let's say, in this manner, or around 5. Let's continue with this weird thing. Why is it so weird? Because I didn't want to make the rocket taller. You know, I just wanted to make it wider instead. I installed 200 fuel tank here with an engine. Then I used the small cubics to expand the rocket to the sides. Then T800, Rocamax 16, and 2 adapters which contain fuel as well. You can put it inside with the mod called modular fuel tanks. It's really useful. I like it. I like it really, really much. To make this thing moving, I install the vector engine. It is the most powerful engine of 1.25 diameter, of this diameter. It provides me with 1,000 kilonewtons of thrust. Here it is. Oh man. Here it is. 1,000 kilonewtons of thrust. So it is the 7th stage, and we have 2.5 thousand meters per second already, with a really decent thrust weight ratio. I'm not switching to Moho body. Where's it? Oh no, Eeloo body, but it's okay, you know. It's decent as well. Then we use this. What we have here? Adapter with inline stabilizer, then Rocamax Jumbo 64 and 32, and a mainsail engine in the bottom. This is the most powerful engine of this diameter, and it's heavy, 6 tons, but it's worth it, definitely. And here we use the same technology as we used here on top. This duct, not cables, but how is it called properly? Fuel ducts, affording me to transfer fuel from the side to the center core. So we first use the side boosters, and then we decouple them and continue working on the central core. And when we are decoupling side boosters, the central core is full of fuel, you know. On the sides we install Jumbo 64 fuel tanks and adapters with fuel as well. Engines are different now, only skippers. They are lighter, they are less powerful, but they are needed only to push the weight of the tank, which is really enough, you know. These engines are powerful enough. And that was the 7th stage when we started traveling from Kerbal to Eeloo. And here we have 5.2 thousand meters per second, which is quite enough for this trip. And the last stage is used to get this thing to the Kerbal low orbit from the Kerbal's surface. So we add 2 boosters on the side. I was not that crazy about making them more efficient. I was tired by this moment, but actually they are okay, really nice. Let's switch to Atmo. So the thrust to weight is really nice in the beginning of the stage working. It's quite okay. Here we use the same technology. These 3 side boosters are pumping fuel to the central core. The central core is equipped with the most powerful engines of this diameter, Mammoth. It combines 4 vector engines in one pack, in one structure. Then 2 biggest Carbodyne tanks, some adapters as usual. Side boosters contain Jumbo 46, 46, and 2 16s. We can use 132, it's okay. I was just putting them one on top of each other because I suddenly realized that I didn't take enough fuel to get to orbit. And they are using different engines. They are picked to keep the thrust weight ratio good. You can make something different, for example, make them all the same. Here are 2 mainsails and 1 skipper, and they are pumping fuel to the central core. And since these 3 engines, mainsails and the skipper in the center, are eating the fuel in different speed, with different speed, we have to install these two pairs of fuel ducts to keep the amount of fuel in these tanks equal all the way we go up. And I did something wrong with the staging while assembling and disassembling the rocket, so pay attention. You know, suddenly this thing is here, so I just load the rocket. Here it is. And we have 15,000 meters per second delta V. Staging is okay. For traveling to Eeloo and back. Let's do the math. We need 7,500 meters per second twice minus 3,500. It is 15,000 minus 3,500. It is 11.5 thousand meters per second. So we have some spare fuel, like 20 or 30%. You can use it however you want. I had some spare fuel when I landed on the Kerbal in my test run. So I think this is it. It's quite simple to use, to operate, to control, and it's really powerful. So let's go and have some fun. Going to Kerbal low orbit is quite usual, so I will do it in fast forward. But before I start, I have to mention one thing. I will go to orbit and then we'll wait until the proper departure time comes. It can be quite long, and if you have low amount of food, well, not low but limited amount of food, oxygen, or whatever which brings snacks or TAC mod, so you have to wait until the moment arrives and only then go to orbit. But I don't have any of these mods installed and I don't have any parallel missions, so I can afford Valentina being unavailable for different flights and just wait on the orbit. So yeah. So now I go and fast forward comes in 3, 2, 1. Now we have a nice round orbit with apopsis around 90-100 meters, and now we have to go to Eeloo. We can do it in two ways. The first is the manual one, which I prefer because it allows me to actually participate in driving the spaceship or piloting the spaceship. It gives me some nice manual experience and feelings, you know, of understanding the mechanics of the universe. I know it's globally said, but okay. The first method is an autopilot, which is brought by the mod MacJab. I will show how to use it on the way back from Eeloo to Kerbin. Many people, including me, don't like to use it, yes, because it's kind of a cheat, you know, but it gives me really precise maneuvers and one of the most efficient ways of traveling. Maybe if we leave behind gravity assists, it's even the most efficient way. But still, I'm not suggesting you to use it because, you know, it's not that fun. And anyway, keep in mind that since I'm going to Eeloo, going there with a manual method, I will make some mistakes, miscalculations. I will arrive in not the best time, and the time of departing back, of going back, is not ideal as well. So even the autopilot mod will have to spend more fuel, more delta V than needed. So keep it in mind. And if you are making mistakes in the very beginning, they will increase and increase and increase. And if you are going that far, your mistake in the end will be really significant. But I think we will deal with it anyway. So first of all, the mod is called Transfer Window Planner. You can not even try to travel to distant planets without using this. When you're going to Moon and Minmos, you can say, oh, the angle needed, the needed angle is, let's warp here or here. It doesn't matter. It just is just fine. But when you're going to Moho or Eeloo, Duna, etc. So you just have to be more precise in order not to make huge mistakes. What do? We enter parameters, so we going from Kerbin to Eeloo. Our orbit is 90 kilometers, we need orbit 50 kilometers, and we plot the Worm's diagram. Here we have x-axis is the departure date, y-axis is travel days, and the color is the amount of needed delta V to get to the destination. So now we have a crosshairs at in the best moment. It shows me that I will have to spend 42.55 meters per second. We'll have to depart at this date, and the travel time will be this. So if we, for example, are in need of oxygen and food while we have some extra fuel on board, we can make our travel shorter, or we can depart earlier. For example, let's say here it is, we want to make it really shorter. We go here. Yes, we spend quite more meters per second delta V, but travel time is lower and we depart earlier, so we can save some resources on board the ship. I want to zoom here. Unfortunately, we have to make it manually, so I will enter the earliest departure to 5. I'm doing it in this weird way just because it have some bugs, you know. And latest departure will be year 4, day 325 plotted. Now it is zoomed. This area is 4300 here as well, so it doesn't matter what we choose, but this is better because if we have to wait, for example, for Moon to go out of from our trajectory, we can afford going later by now it is 296 by 3 weeks. It just matters. So I want to start my travel here at this date. To make it more comfortable, I will add KSC alarm. This is a mod called Kerbal Alarm Clock. This mod allows me to kill the warp or show some message at a certain time, or there are some interesting options there, but killing warp is the most useful. And as well, I'm using the mod Better Time Warp to make warps faster in general, and in addition to be able to use faster warps on low orbits, which is really useful. So I just make maximum warp. It is 100,000 now, and when the time comes, oh, nice merry-go-round. Oh, don't watch. When the time comes, the warp will go down and be killed eventually. And after the time passes, the most boring part will come, adjusting the burn manually. It's quite satisfying when you're making it manually and when you succeed in it, but anyway, it takes quite much time, so I will fast forward it as well. Warp is automatically killed, and we have a note as well, so we delete it, close alarm, and don't use it anymore. Okay. We are here. Let's take a look. Where is our target? Eeloo. Let's see. We need to make an intersection close to descending node here. And to do this, we have to go in that direction, to the right. It's not correct to say such things, but it is trajectory to the right. I don't know how to prograde, here is the line of ascending node, so I definitely made more than needed. And here you see that the approach, hypothetical, is close to ascending node. It helps me not to adjust the relative inclination between Kerbal and Eeloo. Just exactly what I was using in my travel to Minmus. So, and your goal now is try not to use much of the normal anti-normal vector. You see, your goal is to just arrive at this point or close to it. And the most powerful tools you have are your prograde retrograde vector first, and second, your departure time. I will show it to you. let's press right button. So you have now the separation like 17.6 million. I changed departure time a bit, and it is now 18.2. So these two are really powerful tools. Radial and normal vectors are used for just small adjustments, you see, and yeah, you just try not to use them, and this is it. So now I will make an interception in fast forward. Sorry. Uh-huh. Here we are. We get an intersection really close to ascending node, and I didn't use the adjustments, but I will use some adjustment burns on the way to Eeloo, because now we will spend fuel from two stages. It means we will have not equal thrust to weight ratio between stages switching, and it means that we will miss or be ahead of the needed starting burning time, you know. And when we do the burn, we will not have an intersection anymore. So then I go out of the carbon sphere of influence, or just wait until we go a bit away from carbon and make some tiny adjustment burns. The earlier we do them, the less fuel we have to spend. We have to wait for 13 more minutes. You see, now we are using 3 engines, and the fuel is pumped from side boosters to the center core. And when these tanks are empty, we will decouple them, and we will have only one engine working, so our thrust will be lower than when we had 3 engines working. And as a result, we will accelerate in a lower rate, so our second part of the burn will be longer. It means that we have to start burn earlier. Yes, here is how it works. Let's say 70% of the burning time should be not the burning time, but the delta V burned have to be made before the node. This is how it works. The same mode, better time warp, adds these nice things. Be careful with them if they are close one to each other. For example, if your maneuver is close to apopsis or periapsis, because these things warps you just to apopsis, and this warps you to 3 minutes before the maneuver node. So don't accidentally press this instead of this, you know. So press this, and By the way, if you are doing manual travels like I'm doing now, you can consider arriving a little bit in front of ascending nodes. So when you are departing from Eeloo, you can wait until it comes to ascending node, and then your mistake on the second stage will be lower. You see? Now, what I do, I add the maneuver in 10 minutes. And I do the same thing. I press this and make some tiny adjustment. This is it. This is what we want. We have 318 meters per second of the V left. So it's definitely enough for all the adjustments. And we have these tanks for landing. There we have quite significant amount of fuel. So we get here. Even closer. No. Now we have an interception, and when we are somewhere here, we will make another adjustment burn to make our periapsis close to the surface. Yeah, let's go. Look at this. Warp speed is great. Here we are. What I do now, I make a maneuver here and I focus Eeloo, so I see where my orbit is, and now I make adjustments. That's what I want. And I will track the real periapsis. So I can stop burning when we are close enough. So this is what I want. Now, for some reason, the button for switching focus back to my vessel is not working, but it's okay. Let's go closer. And now, when we are closer, we can make smaller adjustments. When we are far, even 1 meter per second maneuver make a really significant change into final trajectory. So to make tiny adjustments, we have to be closer By the way, for tiny adjustments, it's nice to lower the thrust for more precision. This is what we want, and now we go, let's say, here. It's taking some time, but it's worth it, getting this cool experience. Nice. And once more. You see how slow we are making the burn. This is what I need. And now we warp straight into the Eeloo orbit. Where is Eeloo? Oh, here it is. So now I do quick save, quick load to restore the focus. This is the only way it's working. What I do now is I want better inclination. Now it is 48 degrees and I want to be closer to equator. This is it. Oh, sorry. So it's nice. Also, I'd like to do a radial in to make the periapsis below the ground. So now we are on a landing trajectory. Let's get closer. And by the way, let's make a save. Landing on Eeloo. So we go closer. First we get rid of all remaining fuel from the traveling stage. We don't need it anymore. Lowering gimbal limit here. Don't forget it. Don't worry about negative suicide burn numbers because it's not calculated properly while we are on such a big altitude. We are so far from the landing point, and in addition the landing point is now going closer, and it leads to that when we are burning, the suicide burn distance is going higher. I think I will keep it like 5 to 15 kilometers to land safely. I have to start worry only when we are switching from the braking stage to the landing stage, because there our thrust to weight ratio is way lower because of different engines, and in addition we will be way closer to the surface, which means that thrust to weight ratio is lower there. It's even lowering while we are braking and while our ship loses weight. Just imagine. So now we are burning all the fuel. Maybe a little bit later. Now it's okay. Landing legs. This is it. Something survived. No, not for long. Gravity is so low here, and we landed on a slope. But I think it's working. Let's quick save. Let's go EVA. Don't break the rocket in process. It's not that picturesque here. Really useful mod called easy boarding. So I just press B and don't care about boarding anymore. Just go to the door and the Kerbal node boards automatically. Now we are taking off and go into an orbit. Everything is as usual. Now our orbit is round. Let's make a save. We could use transfer window planner once again. Actually, let's try it just for fun. We are 30-kilometer orbit, and as expected, we have the nice transfer window right now because Eeloo is now in an ascending node still. But instead, I will show you the mod MacJab and its module called Maneuver Planner. What we do? We can choose transfer to another planet or advanced transfer to another planet. It's just the same, but with some additional options. We want to go to Kerbal, and you see this worms diagram once again. Sadly, crosshairs is not drawn here, but it exists. So we can click on this map and the maneuver node will be created according to where you clicked. I will choose lowest delta V option and I press create node. The node is created and we can even press execute or create and execute here, but it's just not cool, you know. Again, we are using fuel from 2 stages, and the first stage has lower thrust-weight ratio, which means that we have to burn a little bit more fuel before we switch stages. Let's take a look at what we have. Quite okay, I have to say. What we do, we warp to a maneuver node. It is in 4 days. Soon we will get rid of our landing legs. Let's enjoy the animations while we can. I like it so much. Great. So let's start. Goodbye, landing legs. See ya. By the way, they will, my landing legs, on this orange orbit. They can eventually collide into Duna. No, we don't have a periapsis because I was not that accurate while ending the burn, and I used different thrust-weight ratio stages, but it's okay because we still can make adjustment burns. Adjustment burns are not a thing which I created. First, I knew about them when I read about lunar programs. I just examined the route and realized that they actually used adjustment burns. And here you can find it as well. It is called fine-tune closest approach. Final periapsis should be 100 kilometers, and we press create node. And execute it. This is what we need. I think now we have a periapsis. Yes, we have. But anyway, I'm going to make another adjustment burn closer to Kerbal to be more precise. Asteroids, asteroids. Prepare your laser guns. Here we are. Let's do it once more. Now it's really a tiny burn. Periapsis 96 kilometers. Isn't it great? We can warp to sphere of influence, changing. Don't need this anymore. We even kill warp and go here to a part of our Kerbal orbit. And by the way, what's about the inclination? Inclination is 20 degrees, 12 degrees. Can we do it low? Oh, can we make it lower? Now? No, we cannot. Well, it's understandable. We get here. Add maneuver to periapsis, circularizing. The burn time is 1 minute 7 seconds, and we use fuel only from our current stage. So, well, this is what I was talking about. We are making the maneuver node right in the periapsis, and if I click it now, you cannot tell which arrows we press, the maneuver node arrows or periapsis, because they are just on top of each other, so we warp manually. Okay, here we are. Just a tube. Where is the Kerbal Space Center? It's here. I think we wait one more round. I'm not going to land just right in the Space Center, but let's make it, you know, as close as it is comfortably possible. We need trajectories. Trajectories mode. Target is Kerbal Space Center. And we start burn. Let's quick save. I think it's enough. We decouple the unneeded stage, and when we got lighter, I think we accidentally collided into, but it's okay. No, we need normal. We need normal because our engine is mounted on top of the vessel, so all directions are reversed. And this is it. We just land in fast forward. Well, I suppose it is close enough to get a recovery bonus. To sum up, first, we built quite simple spacecraft with a nice amount of spare delta V. We still had, if I remember correctly, around 600 to 700 meters per second delta V. So you can instead or in addition take some scientific equipment or whatever you want. Secondly, you can adjust your burns more precisely. If you make any mistakes, you are quite safe, I have to say. Then I traveled there with the use of Mode Transfer Window Planner. I made a manual traveling there, and I had really great experience of controlling the vehicle, creating maneuver nodes, adjusting trajectories, and all this stuff. It's really nice. It brings some satisfaction, you know. And in the last part, I returned with the use of Mode Transfer Maneuver Planner brought by MacJab, which allowed me to make a really precise maneuver with no unnecessary fuel losses and without any hurry, without correcting mistakes or whatever. I hope it's helpful for rookies, for those who have never traveled to distant planets. And in a couple of future episodes, I think I should cover, well, not so much left. True, not interesting. You know, you cannot land there. We could make a quite interesting episode about visiting all the moons in the same travel, in the same trip, but it's not that interesting, I have to say. Duna is really easy accessible. No inclination, leveling, nothing that interesting, and in addition there is an atmosphere which really helps you with landing, so you don't have to take that much fuel, and the gravity is not that severe, so Dune is not an option. Dress is like a moon, but a little bit more far, not interesting as well. What is interesting is Moho is different from Eeloo because of two things. First, you have just to take more fuel because you need more delta V to get there. Anyhow, you see, let me show it to you. Moho 8400 while Eeloo was 75. And in addition, it has an inclination with ascending-descending nodes in its periapsis, apopsis, so, or close to it. I don't remember it in details, but it makes it so difficult to actually make a maneuver node. Even the MacJab module is not that useful. This is the first moho. And the second destination is Eve. You see? It takes even more fuel because of a really dense and high atmosphere. It is 90 kilometers. And if you can easily land on it thanks to parachutes, it's really hard to take off from there because you run into some difficult atmosphere problems. And what is always difficult is not to forget ladders, because there you cannot fly with your Kerbals. It's a joke, you know. So I think 2 more episodes, and this is it. This is a series of traveling to distant planets for rookies. Yes, and for now, it's it. Yeah, goodbye everyone.